I'm gonna die.
No, you're not. You're Australian. We're impossible to kill.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Battlefield 1 hard difficulty video walkthrough. This is the 4th war story, and the second sequence, it's The Runner, self-titled. And at the beginning here, we have to do some scouting. I put a shot on a sniper and he vanishes. I don't think I killed him though, I think somebody else got the final hit. And then I'm just going to scout this village a little bit up ahead here with the binoculars to look at the target, see if there's anything I can spot. And then we're going to make our way through this village pushing forward. And this is another section where I think the campaign really shines in this, because it's not linear, it's very Battlefield-esque, and you can make your way through here however you choose to. You could literally go all the way to the outskirts on the left before you start getting irradiated, all the way up and all the way around, and maybe avoid all of it. Or you can go through the middle of this place and partake in how the gameplay works with the moving between settlements and the lures and the baiting and the stealth mechanics and things. I'm probably going to shoot people, because I really like shooting people. Oh, I'm going to stab him with something. Ooh, it's an axe. That looks meaty. A lot of people love to do that shit in the multiplayer. A lot of people running at you trying to hit you with stuff, so get that hipfire on point and put them down. Now you can counter it, I believe. You can counter the melee attacks. I'm not too sure how you do it. It must be about pressing the melee button at a certain time. I'm not too well versed on it, guys, because I don't really melee in the multiplayer. You know, this isn't Call of Duty, so I don't really feel the need for it unless I sneak up on somebody. And on this game, it seems like you don't show up on the map when you fire your gun, which is really useful, because when I got behind a bunch of people in a building and I killed about 4 or 5 of them and not one of them realised I was there, which has really reminded me of Crossfire, COD 4, which is a great feeling to get. The only difference is I'm using a super old school bolt action gun, and the game looks like this. But there's a couple of guys across these farmers' fields and I'm getting shot from a few different sides, namely that side. So put him down, get your life back a little bit. Watch out for grenades, because they are quite accurate with them, and they might take the walls down so your cover can be gone. And then you can start pushing up. Sprinting on this game does seem to make you a harder target to hit, but if it's to be believed what I read on the internet, which, you know, not necessarily everything you read on the internet is true, but there seems to be some kind of critical modifier on your character when you're doing anything but standing still or kneeling. So the more you move in this game, technically the more damage you can take. Once again, guys, this might not be true for campaign, and it might not even be true. It's just the person who's saying it on the internet seemed like he knew a lot about Battlefield, and I really don't. You know, I haven't played the game since Bad Company 2, and on that game I sniped, so if I hit you, you died. You know, there were many times where, like, just shooting those rifles was enough to take people out, and if you got good enough with it, you could just take heads and be crazy. The rifles on this game, way different to use. The bullet drop seems different. It's going to be tricky getting used to the scout on this one, but I'm looking forward to giving it a try. Hopefully playing with some subscribers and what have you, and if any of my friends pick this game up, which I hope they do, because it's a great game. And if not, I'll just be running on my own and probably camping a bit more, because I'm not a big fan of camping. I'm not that kind of player, but when you play on your own and your team aren't capping flags and all you seem to be doing is going to one end of the map to try and capture something only to die to do it on another side, maybe it's best to defend a certain part of the map and just cause as much havoc as you can, which I guess I'll see, but hopefully I can get a squad together and we can do some squad fun stuff. But once you've come into this building, it triggers the next part of the mission, which is to go all the way back where we came. You've ascertained what the situation is, so start pushing forward. I've picked up this gun not because I like it, but because I was out of ammunition, pretty much. And this is one of the support class guns, so it's very accurate and very damaging, but it's rather imposing on the screen. So pop the shotgun back on, enjoy your shuffling shadow beneath your feet as we make our way across this field. There was a spawn right there. It's weird that it enabled us to watch it as it happened, but that's just how it worked, it seemed. So I swap it out for a rifle. I really like this rifle. I'm not the biggest fan of the iron sight on it, but in the multiplayer you can customize which iron sight you use. So on your loadout, if you press, I think it's Y, or triangle if you're on PlayStation, you can swap the iron sight to have that same iron sight as the gun I really like, that tubular one. And I find it's easier on my periphery vision, and I aim much better with it. Like, this one's not bad by any means, but there's something about the rear post that I don't know, it might be the depth of field, and you can turn it off if you want, guys. If you don't want your gun to blur like it does here, you can turn off the adjustable depth of field, because all that's doing is simulating what your eye does when you focus on things in the background. Things on the foreground get blurrier. It's the same thing that cameras do. It's just the way that it works, how focus works. And there's techniques in cinematography and in filmmaking which is known as pulling focus, which is essentially a way for the camera to quite artistically take emphasis from one object and show it to another object. It's used oftentimes in filmmaking to draw the viewer's eye to something that they want to show. And it can be very interesting. Like, you'll see it a lot with conversations. Well, there'll be somebody in the foreground who's in soft focus, and then you'll have the person who's speaking who you're meant to be looking at. And maybe the person in soft focus is not looking at them, and the person who you are looking at is saying something really important, and they finish on a high point of, you know, that's something for you to think about type of thing, bombshell dropped, and then they'll start walking away, and then the camera will pull focus, and you'll see the other person, and then you'll see the facial expression of the person because they've just got some really sad news or whatever. Stuff like that happens a lot. You might not notice it because it's good filmmaking if it's done correctly. But once you get back to base, you will then be told to run all the way back over here, which is great practice for the multiplayer because you spend a lot of time doing this. You run across a lot of fields in the multiplayer trying to get into conflict zones, and then before you know it, you either get sniped or you end up bumping into somebody and having one of those super panicked Saving Private Ryan gunfights. But finding a couple of collectibles on this one, who knew? As we get over here, there's going to be a mission to retreat. Look how cool that looks, by the way. I am a big fan of this. Problem with it, I don't think you can cancel out of it, so you have to commit, and then once you do it, you have to wait for the stamina to refill on the bayonet before you can run again. So you get penalised, but it's arguably the fastest way to move in this game. But knock into this room. If you run into the doors, you'll open them quickly. If you hold the button, you'll open them quietly. Here is the retreat order, and then we can get on the horse and run all the way back to the other objective, and then defend that zone. Right now, we're currently in a crazy swell of gaming as well. I don't like that it happens like that. I think they should spread it out more around the year, but I understand why they don't, because of course, it's coming close to Christmas, isn't it? That's why this time is so heavy on releases, because they're getting ready for all the people to buy it as Christmas presents, and that's what they aim for, because, let's face it, retail makes its most money around this time of year, doesn't it, towards the last part of the year. And it's been that way for a very long time. But I can't help but feel like if they separated some of these releases, they might do better, and we might be able to condition ourselves away from this notion of no games all summer, even though all kids are off and kids are begging for shit to play, and then too many games in November, and nobody has the money to cover them all unless you do something like this, or unless you've just, you know, you're a type of person who loves gaming and likes to buy all the new releases. Like, there's no balance to it. It's just all or nothing, and I think that's a little disappointing, and I'm kind of glad that a lot of things have been delayed, but they just fall into the same trap, don't they? If it's not November, it's February. So you get this massive swell at the end of the year and the beginning of the new year, and then nothing. And I've never really liked it, personally. I like to think that you should always have something to look forward to incrementally. And that way you don't have a moment where, like, think how many shooters are out at the moment, you know? We've got this one, we've got COD coming, we've got Titanfall coming, we've got so many shooters. That's 3 competitive shooters all competing for the same market, which to me is just crazy. You know, like, arguably COD's gonna win because unfortunately it's one of those things where, because it's been the most popular for a long time, even though it's losing popularity, it's still doing numbers that other games can't compete with. Then you have Battlefield, which has got a lot of people who love it and a good solid following, but it's not the same as the crazy ADHD COD kids, which sounds very stereotypical, but it's really true. And then you have games like Titanfall where they do have a following, but I don't think it's anywhere near as ridiculous as Battlefield or as COD, because it's kind of looked at as almost novelty, isn't it? And there's only been one game, so it hasn't had the legacy to build up to a bunch of die-hard fans. But it could be the best one out of all 3 if it comes out and does a bunch of new shit and redefines the genre. I just kind of don't think it's going to. So we have all these shooters, and how do you find the time to play them all? Because there's people still playing Halo, there's people still playing, you know, insert what other game you want. And then you've got things like Dishonored coming very shortly. You've got things like Watch Dogs, which is different genre, to be fair. But still, you know, it's biting for people's attention. There's so many things. It's kind of crazy. But on this part, everything's going to rush that building down there that looks like weird, like a big old bulbous nipple. I'm not too sure what building it is. Looks like maybe a bathhouse or looks a bit like a mosque, doesn't it, with the circular roof, the domed roof. But if you come up here, this is where they spawn from. And they're all going to be rushing towards your team. Your team are highlighted by those blue dots, which is really helpful, because it can be very easy to shoot your team and think they're bad guys. And if you stand off to the side like I'm doing now, you kind of get free reign to shoot them, and then every so often they get pissed off at you and they'll put some bullets down range towards you. But you can just use your advantage here, practice your aiming, you know, get your stick skill up, because you're going to need it for the multiplayer, because you die so fast in multiplayer, you've got to be fast or you're dead. And somebody was asking me, how do I aim well with the sticks? You know, I don't know if they were having trouble with it or if they were new to consoles. But aiming is one of those things, guys, that if you do it for long enough, you don't even notice you're improving, and then before you know it, you feel really sharp. I've only put a couple hours into this game, maybe about 6 hours into it, so I don't feel really sharp at all. I feel the opposite of sharp, but I'm getting there, and it takes time, and the more you invest time, the better you will get. It's just like anything else, folks. You couldn't run very far, could you, quickly when you didn't run for a long time, and then you started doing it once a day or every week, and before you knew it, you were running faster, you were more conditioned, you were running further. You know, it's all about putting in that time. Thank you for watching. You take care now.